The traditional way of going about wildlife conservation is very hands-off. And the United States, to its great credit, pioneered the whole concept of wildlife refuges for the sake of conservation. Right? Where was the first national wildlife refuge in the world open? Anybody know? Florida. Why? What was it there to protect? See the hat? The hat is made up of huge piles of egret feathers. In the early part of the 20th century, big wading birds were driven to the verge of extinction by people hunting them for their feathers so that they could decorate fancy hats and sell them in New York and Paris. And the wildlife refuge system worked. None of our big wading birds went extinct. They're all more common than they were in the early part of the 20th century. So it's a good model to some extent. You declare this is now a refuge. You put up a fence, you hire guards. The first guard of the first wildlife refuge in Florida, a guy named Guy Bradley, was killed, by the way, by poachers. But they hired another guard. You put up a fence, you declare an area protected, you hire guards, you stop people to some extent from hunting those animals. It's been a remarkably successful thing. But we live in a different reality now, right? With many times more people than there were in 1900, with much more sophisticated technology available to them, including automatic weapons available to the poachers. And simply setting up a refuge and doing hands-off conservation usually doesn't work, often doesn't work. This is a northern white rhino, maybe the rarest mammal in the world. As somebody corrected me earlier, right? There are now 4 of them. A couple of weeks ago there were 5. There are now 4 of them left in existence. They are on a private game ranch in Kenya. That's not where the last wild ones were. The last wild ones were in a national park in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Did the national park work to keep out poaching when the DRC was in the middle of a huge civil war? No, it didn't work at all. Didn't matter. Right? The last wild ones were killed around 2005. There's 1 male left in the world and 3 females. They're all old. If this species will be saved, and there's a fair chance that it will be saved not by being hands-off. It will be saved like this guy is sort of demonstrating, giving the rhino a little coochie coo. This was a rhino that was raised in captivity. That's why it allows him to give a coochie coo to the rhino. It will be saved by people, right, like Charlie, doing in vitro fertilization, by implanting embryos in surrogate moms of southern white rhinos, by really intensive, really expensive, really hands-on conservation. And more of the species in our world, if they are to continue to be around, will require not just declaring new refuges, but will require various kinds of intensive hands-on interventions.